Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel, The Sun, where we're always working towards something greater. So today I'm going to make a video talking about intuition and what is it, how to strengthen it. So what intuition is intuition is a feeling or an instinct kind of something that you should or shouldn't do. Now this can be a lot of different cases and type of things where you might have an intuition of kind of a feeling. If you feel like something might be wrong, if you feel like you shouldn't maybe do something because, maybe it could result in something bad happening to you, could be a kind of case that might be a gut instinct or a feeling that you just have an inner knowing is basically what intuition is. You just know for some reason that it's not right or that something is right. So why is intuition valuable to you? Intuition is valuable because I think we as people, when we don't use our intuition, we end up getting ourselves in situations in life which we don't really have a sense of direction. We don't really know where to go without our intuition guiding us. So that's why I believe that intuition is very important, is because when you live without it, as many of us grow up actually being, because that's the way that society has kind of trained us to be. For some reason it's frowned upon to use your imagination as an adult and to listen to your inner knowing. We're all expected to kind of just be these working slaves that just do our jobs and do what we're supposed to and not question it. And it's hard to live life that way, but it's something that we were never trained how to properly use unless you were brought up in a family that already was strongly into the spiritual side of things. Unfortunately, I think that what has happened is that we as humans aren't connected to nature and spiritual things that we really need in our lives to be able to function. And as a result of not using the intuition, we just end up living our lives kind of unhappy, mediocre, always kind of with an internal battle within ourselves, wondering whether you're doing the right thing or not. And I'm not going to say that with intuition, when you make choices, sometimes you still might question some of your choices. I'm not going to be able to promise that it's always going to be able to lead you to a perfect place, but I do strongly believe that it can. I really strongly believe that when you follow your intuition, that's where it can take you to a place of happiness. Because intuition, I believe, is your spirit and what it feels it needs, and your heart, your heart and what you feel like is the right place to be in your life. And so when you don't follow that, and you just live kind of blindly just doing what you're supposed to do, life can feel very kind of boring and empty. And when you start following your intuition, that's when things really start to change. When you put yourself first and you start to decide that you don't want to live your life a certain way or things like that, or you just want to open up more spiritually, whatever the case might be. But I think a lot of us really do want to get to a place of satisfaction in our life. I don't think that I've ever really met anybody that was just okay with not living the best life that they could and being kind of just unhappy. I think we all want to be happy. So that's what intuition can do for you, I believe, is that it can open up a lot of doors for you to start following your true intentions of where you want to be in your life. And that's where my spiritual journey has brought me personally. I feel like by starting to listen to my heart and listening to my intuition and not just following the things that I was supposed to do or felt like I had to do, but to actually stop and take a moment to be like, what do I want? What is the real thing that I feel like my spirit and my heart is telling me to do to fulfill my void that I'm feeling right now? So that's what it can do. And I'm just going to kind of explain some of the things that you can do now to kind of go ahead and get that kick started. So there's some kind of exercises you can do that are kind of fun. I'm not the best at this yet, but there's some things you can do where sometimes you can even like do this with a friend, that you can be like, I'm thinking of a number 1 through 5. We all know that game, you know, kind of guess from that person what it is. Take your intuition and be like, what do I think that is? Or you can take boxes of something and have somebody else put an object in it, and you can try and use your intuition to guess what is in that box. It's really just kind of guessing to some extent, but really what it is listening to your inside higher self and the spiritualness of it to be able to figure out the voids in the unknown, kind of. So there's those kind of exercises you can do. What I like to do is, honestly, tarot and oracle cards really help with this, I feel like, because tarot is never going to straight up just tell you an answer to something. It's never just going to be like, well, your job is this way, so you need to do this, or you're feeling this way because of this. Honestly, what happens with tarot is that you have to decipher it on your own. You have to take what it resonates. You have to take what resonates from tarot. You have to be like, I understand this because it speaks to me in this way. This is exactly what it's talking about. And I understand, and it's right, and I do need to change these things, or this is what I need to do to start moving forward because I don't do that, or whatever it might be. It's kind of reflecting on yourself on an inner level, and that's using your intuition to understand yourself better. And honestly, these are things that I feel like people know about themselves, but that they don't want to acknowledge until it's like another person pointing out your BS. You know, when the divination and everything seems like the universe is calling you out on your shit, is kind of what happens with that. And so that's kind of one way that you can work on your intuition too, is just by listening to your inner self, because that's what your intuition is. Your inner self and the spiritual, just, you know, spiritual knowledge of just knowing, you know, everything on a spiritual level. So another thing that you can do is, it doesn't always have to be with boxes and stuff that you can do stuff with. You can be like, today I think that this is going to happen. Like, for instance, you could say, I think that this person is going to get home at this time, or I think that whatever, something is going to happen today, like, I think today my mom's going to make corn for dinner, you know, like, it could be anything like that. You can just kind of strengthen it with guessing for things, but there are other things that you can do to work on as well with that, like tools other than tarot. You can use crystal balls, you can use scrying, you can do so many different kinds of things. Crystal balls are kind of just like gazing into them, and when you stare at them for so long, you can start to see images of things, and that's kind of your intuition speaking to you to give you some kinds of messages. Same thing with like scrying with a black mirror, or even just a flame, or some black, you know, water in a bowl with a black bowl. There's many different ways that you can do kind of the scrying. There's many different methods for divination for that kind of stuff. But what I started doing personally to notice my intuition is asking myself questions. And this is one of the strongest things that I think that you can do for intuition, because you have to really listen to how you feel. And this is where I think it makes a big difference as far as the aspects of your life, with not only doing tarot, but in figuring out where you need to go for your next steps in your life and your career, and whatever of those kinds of sorts of things. So with that, you kind of just need to ask yourself, like, is this what I really want to do? And just be quiet and don't judge, don't think about it, just let it come to you. something that really helps with this is to ask yourself if that's true. So for an example, say, is this the right position for me to take? Is that true? And then just let it soak in and feel your feelings. Feel the way that it feels and what your heart is telling you is the right way to go. Because you know on a deep level what you really want. And it's better when you can do this when you're not in a state of panic and calm, or you're not in a state of panic and you have anxiety and things like that. It's best to do it when you're as calm as you can possibly be. So in some kind of state of meditation is possibly the best way to do some of this. Just ask yourself, is this true? Even if you feel a little bit of scared to it, but you feel mostly calm, it's probably the right choice. If you just kind of feel unhappy about it and kind of dread wash over you, then you know that that's really probably not the right place that you want to be. But if you feel mostly a sense of calm and a sense of good, then that's probably what you really truly want. Now, you do have to be careful with this to some extent. You do also have to use some logic to it. But sometimes logic and intuition don't make sense at all. Sometimes something that seems like a great opportunity for you and the best thing that you could be doing, and say it gets messed up for you, and for some reason you're just like, why do I feel good about this? This is bad, like this was a bad thing to have happened, and for some reason I feel good about it. And that right there is true intuition. That is telling you that for some reason was not the right thing for you. That wasn't the right path you were meant to follow. So that is some things of intuition that you can use for sure. There are things that I've done before trying to ask spirit and stuff for help. You can also use, I've done flipping coins sometimes. I've done using your pendulum. That can also help a lot too. And there are a lot of things, but sometimes I've noticed this, guys, that sometimes when you look to divination, sometimes when you look to a yes or no answer for things, sometimes it gets skewed. Sometimes it won't give you a direct answer. And my feeling for that is that I think that your spirit guides and guardian angels and stuff don't want to give you a direct answer because they want you to feel it out for yourself. And that's kind of crazy, but that's the truth of it. They want you to look within more than looking from without to understand something, I think. And speaking from my own experience, how I've decided things too was asking myself questions through meditation, and some really crazy stuff happened to me when I was asking these questions, and it was to do with a job. It was to do with a job that I thought was going to be a really great job for me, and I should have been happy there, and it was a great opportunity, but for some reason I couldn't make myself be there. I wasn't happy there. I didn't want it. And when I meditated on it and I said, should I do this? Should I go back to it? Nothing happened. But then as soon as I said, should I not go back to it? It was like somebody shined a flashlight in my eyes. And my vision was just filled with a bright white light. And I think that was my guardian angels and everything telling me, yeah, don't. It's not the right thing. And sometimes I look back on it and think, man, I wonder what it would have been like if I would have just stayed there. Maybe things could have been really good. But if I had done that, I wouldn't be anywhere where I am right now, starting to work on doing independent contracting jobs to figure myself out and learn self-discipline and figure out my anxiety, and honestly just have the great job opportunities that have happened for me. So maybe that might be a little bit of inspiration for you guys to maybe think a little bit more about it, of wow, inspiration, or wow, intuition really could benefit my life, because I do want to figure out where I'm going. So yeah, that is some things you can do for it. There's also many other methods, so check online for other things that you can do. There is also something which I haven't tried yet, but it is something about writing in a journal and not really thinking, just kind of letting your thoughts flow. And sometimes when you go back and read that, you have an answer in there. So you could definitely give that a shot. I think I might want to give it a try someday, but I haven't tried that one. I have tried scrying, and I have done my tarot, and I have done the pendulum, many of different things, and asking myself questions, and they all seem to be helpful. So those are some things that you can definitely do to help strengthen your intuition, and I hope that you guys like this video, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!